Personnel issues are absolutely not to be addressed during open sessions of the board. Concerns about individual employees of the district should be brought to the superintendent or his designee. And if I can go off script for just a moment and occupy your attention, I understand that there may be some parents who, in light of recent internet reports, might want to address the board on an issue involving PHM and personnel. I ask you respectfully, please respect the rules, because personnel issues absolutely cannot be discussed, legally speaking, in an open session of the school board. So I respectfully ask you to observe the rule.
And welcome back to Real News Michiana's Real News Roundup. I'm your host, Ben, and joining you to the right of your screen is none other than the commie crusher himself, the founder and the editor of Real News Michiana, Clifton French.
Ben,
Let's go, Clifton.
Been too long, man.
It has, but I'm not done yet. So we have another guest with us. It is my honor to introduce you to the future Penn Harris Madison School Board President, Andy Rutten. Andy, it's great to have you, man. What's going on?
Hey, guys. Glad I could be here. This is great.
Awesome. Yeah. So we're going to have a discussion about the Penn Harris Madison School Board meeting that happened last night. Clifton wrote a story about it, and this is what the headline looks like. So the school board won't let parents discuss a news article that Clifton wrote. Clifton, what is going on again with Penn Harris Madison not letting us talk about one of your stories?
They hate me, Ben.
What? I thought they loved you, man.
You know what? If I met any of these people out at a bar or a restaurant or on vacation or anything, they would want to spend the entire time with me, right? These people hate me. They hate me.
Well, you want to know who else they love? Who
Andy,
love letters to this guy. That would be Andy Rutten, the guy he had arrested for speaking for 2 minutes and 44 seconds out of 3 minutes at a meeting. So Andy, you wanted to speak about this story yesterday. What happened?
I was going to talk about a recent news story that I read regarding Penn, but I just heard that this may be a topic that the board is not willing to hear about. So I'm not going to be able to talk about that today, I guess. But I just wanted to mention that. Thanks.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, I wanted to bring it up. It's, this guy is working at the school. He's working around the kids. And it's like he's putting all his personal baggage, all over social media and making it very easy to get to.
So
all these
listen,
kids
looking
at the social media.
Hey, hold up. I want to back up real quick. In case the audience doesn't know what we're talking about, Clifton, give us a quick background of who this guy is and what he did.
I call him a band coach. He's a choreographer for the marching band, right? He's a coach for the marching band for the color guard. But he's hired, by the school district, and for years he has had this social media account where he posts all of his political beliefs, right? Extreme political beliefs on the left. To me, personally, I have an issue, but as a journalist, that's not enough for me to tell a story, right? For him saying, I hate Donald Trump, I hate this, I hate that, right? Well, when his like feed is full of naked men, we're talking naked penises, naked buttocks, naked everything, men laying on top of each other, silhouettes of male genitalia through underwear, that kind of thing, that can be easily viewable.
We got it, Clifton.
That's a problem. So wrote a story about this guy who works with kids at PHM schools, and they went crazy.
Well, part of the problem was he used that same social media profile and platform to interact in his official capacity. Am I right?
Oh, he's posting all kinds of stuff about kids and about PHM and about the marching band.
So kids and parents and faculty were all seeing this stuff.
He is
correct?
spreading all of this stuff it's obvious that he's using this platform to spread this information about PHM, at least, right? He's using this platform to spread that information to parents and children and staff. On that same feed, right, on that same profile, you are having naked penises. So that's a problem.
Right.
Yeah, that's a problem.
Yes, it is. That's a big problem.
Yeah.
Hey,
so I
got a
wrote a story.
question.
Yeah. Yeah. So I wrote a story, and there were parents like Andy who wanted to talk about it.
Yeah, and one of the questions, I'm not familiar with all this new political terms and stuff. You hear all these woke issues, but a new term that I've heard is grooming. And my question is this guy a groomer? I mean, is that putting that kind of provocative behavior right up next to working at a public school? Is that grooming? Is that what that is?
I don't, Andy. I don't know. What I do know is that there are a lot of sex obsessed, vocally sex obsessed people who are close to children in our schools.
Yeah.
And that's a problem.
Another issue we had I want to bring up was originally this was an agenda item. Am I wrong? So it was an agenda item to rehire this guy for another contract. What our good friend Christopher Riley did, okay, the school board, is they took it off the agenda. Then they did another thing. They banned us from talking about this story. Mm-hmm. So they took it off the agenda. They were already going to talk about this.
Yep.
They took it off the agenda, and then they said, "Oh, by the way, parents, you can't talk about it. It's because we said, trust us. Yep. We're the experts." That sound about right?
Yeah, that's what I remember.
I wanted to make that part of my speech as well. I talked about the same issue. I talked about that Jenna Todd. So I talked about her. She's in charge of hiring all these third parties like Stepping Stones and all these groups that have substitute teachers when we're low on teachers, and they hire them to come in temporarily. Well, she hires them, and a lot of them are from radical Marxist groups, as I displayed it, as I gave examples of in my speech last month. So I wanted to talk about her, but they were cracking down on naming names, talking about faculty, that type of thing. So I had to do a word salad and how I described her so I could tell my story. And they almost stopped me from speaking a few times. Mr.
And Ben, I think my biggest problem with obviously, I don't go to the meetings. I'm a journalist. I don't go to the meetings. I don't get involved in the meetings. I report on what's happening, right? And the school board hates me because of it. But I think my biggest problem with this is that they said, Chris Riley comes out and says, legally, we cannot discuss this. There's no statute that's given. There's no statute that I can find that's given. Maybe they can't discuss it, right? But a parent or somebody attending the meeting, a taxpayer who is paying this person's salary, saying something, I can't find any statute at all that prevents a parent or the public speaking about an issue like this, right? Now, the school board, I can understand that. I can understand them not having any commentary after being able to say anything. But this person is just as much as I can write a story about them, right? This person is a public figure being paid tax dollars for a public service. So me writing a story about them, actually there are massive protections for me to write these stories about somebody who is considered a public figure. And all of those protections are based essentially on speech. They're all based on speech. So having a parent or having any member of the public speak about them makes no sense. It makes zero sense at all. I think that it's a lie, honestly. I think that it's a lie coming from the school board. And maybe they've been told by legal, hey, to be extra protected, all of that stuff. But it's not true.
Well,
it's not accurate.
Clifton, I kind of feel like they're making up the rules as they go along.
Well,
Like,
absolutely.
Like the same way they had Andy arrested.
Yeah.
Andy didn't even speak for 3 minutes.
Yeah.
But they let other parents speak for 4, 5, 6, 7 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
Don't even get warned that it's their time.
Because they agree with their agenda. Now, Andy, my question for you, Andy, is I obviously love seeing somebody get arrested. He makes a story for me. Why didn't you push this further?
Oh yeah, I didn't want to get arrested again. I mean,
yes,
yeah. I mean, I'd love to have conversations. I don't want to get arrested. They can move fast. Riley makes decisions. He says you can't discuss personnel issues, which is a very vague thing. And then from there, it can escalate, rather quickly. And so I think at this point, I wanted to express what I intended to do and not even try once to really push against it. I think a lot of parents are frustrated that they don't necessarily get the chance to do things before getting cut off. And then when you get cut off, you're disrupted, you start getting frustrated. It goes quickly when you're up at that podium trying to talk and not being allowed to talk. So, this time I just obeyed, and I just indicated what I would have done had there been a more accommodating policy or approach towards parent speech.
Well, Andy, I know you don't have your notes and stuff in front of you probably, but I am not Chris Riley, and open floor, brother. So,
as far as what I was going to talk about with this guy, I had heard a lot about it, but I wanted to start a discussion, say a few things about what I heard, and help other parents be aware of this as well, asking, is he the right guy to be working at a public school? And he's putting his personal choices all over social media that everybody can get to, that everybody can access. And it seems like this isn't just a personnel issue at the school. This is him taking his personal life and posting it for everybody to see. And he may be a good fit to be working at school. He may be other choices for him. Maybe he's a guy who should be working at a nightclub somewhere, some kind of place where it doesn't involve kids, and people might appreciate what he's trying to put forth. I don't want to be too critical on him, but that behavior is just really inappropriate. Yeah,
it's indefensible, and it's so indefensible they weren't even willing to talk about it. That's how indefensible it was.
Yeah,
you're
exactly right. Exactly.
Yeah, it's almost like if it wasn't as bad, then we might have been able to talk more about it. But it was so bad that they didn't even want us to get started. They didn't want to hear that from the parents. And the hearing of visitors, one parent talks, and then the other parents can then choose to add to that. They don't have to sign up in advance for the hearing of visitors, so they can hear and add more comments. So I was hoping, hey, let's start this conversation, and maybe other parents can get up there and fill in additional details about what they had heard, and then their specific concerns about that.
I want to know who's doing background checks for the district.
Nobody.
Yeah.
Seriously, I am much less concerned with somebody being arrested for stealing $20 from Walmart 20 years ago than I am with somebody who is promoting sex like they are.
Yeah.
Right.
I take that back. I actually don't think. I think maybe they are vetting these people.
Well,
this is exactly who they want. In fact, I think Gina Todd is vetting them. I think
So-
she knows all of this and she loves it. That's why they work here.
So I hate to say, you would hope that some people would have objectivity, right? It's just sad. It's sad because you're probably right. You're probably right. I'm not saying you are right. You're probably right though. That they're searching for people who have the same worldview as themselves. So
here's the thing, Clifton. I stopped believing in coincidences a while ago, and I have to do mental gymnastics to convince myself that every single teacher that they hire has the exact same ideology as them. What a coincidence!
Yeah,
what a coincidence! That all these groups they work with are all radical leftists.
Yeah, well,
wow, what a strange coincidence.
Ben, I think that you and I can understand though and agree that anybody who is conservative tends to stay silent. One, because that's a conservative nature. You don't want to be pushing your beliefs on other people, and two, you don't want to be canceled. You don't want to be fired. You don't want to be canceled. So I don't like to put a blanket label on all educators and everybody involved in the education system. But you're exactly right. It's getting harder and harder to believe that somebody in that, just like in my former industry, in my industry as a my current industry, but my, like in the mainstream media, right? That, I mean, I've worked in, in big and small markets, everybody's left. If you dissent, you're evil.
Well, I do want to say I believe we have a lot more good teachers than bad. So I don't mean to blanket them like that. But what I do believe is the conservatives they do maybe hire is probably because they just don't know.
They don't know.
They're quiet. They don't know.
No.
The leftists they get hired, I think it's by choice. I think it's on purpose. I think these organizations, these radical organizations like Stepping Stones, they work with them on purpose because there's a reason.
Hire a vocal leftist. Hire a silent conservative based on their resume.
Absolutely. I think that's what happens.
And, even if a conservative is willing to speak up, they get beat down.
Yeah, they'll be done.
They get ganged up.
Best resume in the world.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And
so, Andy, so you decided to run against Christopher Riley, to be the
Chris. That's a surprising thing. I'm learning that Chris isn't even running in that position anymore.
That's what you just took it from me, Clifton. I was going to ask.
Sorry,
Andy just told me this. Andy, what did Chris? Thanks, Clifton. Andy, what did Christopher Riley decide to do when you started to run?
So I filed the at-large to run for the at-large school board seat against Christopher Riley, and he had found out that another board member, Angie Gates, was not going to run for her seat in Harris Township. So Chris Riley switched over to run for that Harris seat instead of his at-large seat, and now there won't be an election between me, Andy Rutten, and Christopher Riley.
So who are you running against? Are you
by the way, I'm gonna give Mr. Riley some credit here. Super clever. The last thing he wants to do is run against you. The last thing he wants to do is lose against you. That's the last thing he wants to do. Is not run against. He does not want to lose against you, and he knows that is a very, very, very likely outcome. Dude, the guy's not dumb. The guy is not dumb.
He's definitely not dumb. Now I wonder who's going to run against him. Do you have anybody? Have we heard anything?
You know what? I don't know off the top of my head.
I just heard that Brian Jones had filed today to run for the Harris seat that Angie Gates used to be in, or is not going to resume, and so he will be running against Chris Riley.
Who's
Let's
Brian
go,
Jones?
Brian Jones.
I don't know Brian Jones.
I see him all the time at the school board meetings. He's a tall guy. He's very articulate. He's level-headed. Makes a lot of sense. I like him. I like his speeches. He spoke yesterday, in fact.
Okay.
He did a real good job. Yep.
Yeah,
And
he's a great guy. You know, he speaks very well. He's very sincere. He can articulate. You know, some of these topics are just they're challenging to articulate. You know, in a way that others can understand and relate. And I think Brian does a really good job of that. So yeah, he's going to be a great fit for that.
So he has your support, Andy.
Absolutely. Yeah.
If he has your support, he has mine. So that's all I need.
He's got my support. Thanks, Clifton, for asking. He's got my support, you jerk.
I like you, Ben.
No, you don't. No, you don't.
Hey, so I got something else to bring up here, but I think what is their policy regarding codes and conduct after they hire, and it's ongoing. And then I think what is the social media policy that falls under that? And there was another parent.
I know
the other
social
night
media
that
policy.
spoke on that, but that's something that I don't think Penn has. I don't think Penn has addressed that. So it's almost like they might do a brief background check, but then that's it, and then you could have somebody there for years where they
Andy,
wouldn't
I'll tell
hired,
you their social media policy. Their social media policy is if it's on your personal social media, they don't care, which is crazy.
Yeah,
that's crazy. That's insane. And I think that they do that. I think a lot of these places do that kind of thing. A lot of these schools and other typical leftist organizations, I think that they have a social media policy like that because they expect, because they know that their people are going to be talking and posting and doing all of those things while the conservatives typically stay quiet. And if the conservative who's going to be loud says something, it's going to be fairly easy to get rid of them just by making stuff up. They're not going to get rid of half their freaking workforce, right? They're going to get rid of onesies, twosies, that kind of thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's my theory.
Yeah. And, we all would like a right to privacy, me as much as anybody. But I think that...
Andy, you know how you do that on social media?
You lock it down so that the kids at the school can't all be looking at it. Yeah. And so it's almost like the school really needs to tell everybody that works there, look, if you want to use social media, you have to separate it 100% from the school environment. If one
That's what I talked about in my speech.
Andy, you're about to put me out of work, brother. You're about to put me out of work.
Harassment. The school says that kids can't be harassing each other on social media, but then you can have somebody who works there doing this kinds of stuff. I mean,
and harassing. And by the way, a lot of teachers harass parents. They harass all kinds of folks. Like they're worse than any parent or they're worse than any student is to other students. It's bad. And that's why we need people like you, Andy, and Brian, apparently. So that's why we need to reform these school boards, reform the people who are taking charge. And I know that, by the way, as soon as you get into that position, you're going to be getting flack from the other side, right? And you're probably going to get flack from me as well, because you're not going to do everything that I want you to do. You know what I mean?
Fair enough.
And I think that, minds change once you get into that kind of position. But you're never going to change my mind about simply being transparent about how you make decisions and what you're doing. That's it. And I think that that's really what everybody is asking for, is just be transparent. And then if everybody knows what you're doing, typically, and I strongly believe, the right outcome will prevail. Because you're going to have voices from people all over the spectrum, and you're going to know, okay, this is the right thing to do.
Yeah, that's very well said. I think a school board is there to represent the community and needs to listen. And so, yeah, I agree. I appreciate, you're saying that, just try to be transparent and give everybody the chance to weigh in and decide, and that a school board member doesn't have to choose sides. They let the conversation happen. I think when we have another agenda item was about the revisions to the student handbook, where they're looking at now adding in all the pronoun
Well,
politics.
they're normalizing the gender transition of children as young as 5 years old. So
and they're going to try and rush that
and by the
through.
way, I think the vast majority of the public would agree that that is a bad idea. But if they don't, you still need to say no, Andy. you still need to say this is a bad idea. And I think
and they're trying to rush it through, and they're going to cut off that conversation. They weren't being transparent. I mean, they posted the revisions online with their meeting minutes. Well, wait a second, that link didn't work. Nobody could look at it the whole weekend. The school thought it was available. It wasn't.
Mhm.
Accident or not,
nobody
that
thought
is
it was
not
available.
transparent.
That was not an accident. That was not an accident. They knew it
You gotta
wasn't.
stop believing in coincidences.
Yeah,
You know
that was
what I
not.
mean?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Because if that were not available, that would not have been voted on and approved. It wouldn't have been. They would have pushed it off. It's that simple.
Yeah.
Just like your story, Clifton.
Yeah. Thanks.
So I don't think anybody running against you is going to have a chance, because you have all of our support. So
Yeah.
we're going to knock on doors for you. We're going to do whatever we can do to get you elected.
That's great. And I'm going to work really hard, because this is important. Involves the kids, and it's just there's so much going on. There's so many conversations need to be had, and parents just aren't allowed to be having this conversation. So if I can't in a school board, being a part of conversation, I'm going to be out knocking on doors and telling people why we need more time at the school board to have these conversations.
I looked at your website, and the main thing I was impressed is what you're running on, and that's transparency. It's simple. It's what Clifton talked about, and what you said in your website. Your mission statement is transparency, and that's what we want. You get it. And that's why you have our support, Andy. So that's awesome.
All right. Well,
thanks,
thank you,
guys.
Andy.
Appreciate that.
And thank you, Andy. Thank you, Ben.
All right.
So, I appreciate everything all you guys are doing.
I really appreciate the encouragement. This is going to be an exciting election.
Good conversation, guys. Until next time. As always, stay informed, folks.